This is HBR News number 527, DoorDasher done goofed, MaryLisa.com, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of the absurdities so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian, and I'm joined by Dr. Randomcam. Hannah is trying to get in. She'll be in. I'm pretty sure she'll figure it out. But I had to get the show started, so as soon as she gets in, I'll give her a voice. As you know, we men, we like to control women's voices. So we have a great show lined up for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. And please try to smash that like button so that we can maybe reach more people. It's always helpful to get a like button smashed because like the YouTube algorithm Dark Lords may allow us to slip through the cracks if you do that. So on today's HBR News show, we're going to be looking at mankeeping because it is something that we talked about a while ago, and it looks like the rest of the world is catching up. Or at least some people in the red pill space are. A California woman gets desperate and tries marketing herself. Scottish eugenics, no, I'm not kidding, and more, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So, the patron-only show, we got this article from, I don't remember the website, but it doesn't really matter. It's some rag, but it's a big one. It's like Washington Post or New Yorker or New York Times or something like that. And apparently the U.S. Department of Labor is putting out a social media campaign to try to get, men back in the workforce. And, well, it's a problem because apparently there's too many white men in the imagery. They're using like a retro sort of style, and it's probably all AI generated, but that doesn't really matter because it upset the right people. So it says here the Labor Department,
left people, as it were.
I see what you did there. The Labor Department's social media campaign depicts a white male workforce. The campaign has drawn scrutiny, with critics saying the agency is not realistically portraying the diversity of the country and is sending messages that feel exclusionary. Yes, that happened.
This is who's going to pick your cotton and your vegetables, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go where the problem is.
Yeah, right. These are the guys that are going to mow your lawns and, watch your kids when you're at work or something. So we're going to be reading through this article in the patron show. And if you guys want to join us, you have to become a member by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe. $5 a month will get you into Discord where you will be able to watch all of the additional content, like all of our patron shows and works in progress. And there's also lots of community things that are going on, like movie nights and game nights and such. I think they usually do game nights today or tonight. They play Cards Against Humanity, for example. Still going strong. And so please consider, if you just want to check it out for free, you can just go to badgernation.online. You'll get access to some of the public parts of the Discord. And come check us out there. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, then go to where our archive content is at, which is badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. And also follow us on Rumble, because I don't think Rumble is going to be yeeting us from the internet. So our content will continue to go up there, and we would really appreciate it. So let me just do a quick, there goes Hannah. She's here.
Say things. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can. Let me just give you a voice because the audience can't yet. So I'm just going to plug you in. Here we go. Because you can only speak because I allow it. Okay.
Here we go.
All right. Yeah, you're here. Okay. So with that said,
as it should be.
Yes, exactly. That said, let us get into today's stories. So first up, we got a follow-up. Allison and I covered it, but I figured you guys would want to get a swing at this topic as well.
Yes.
So I don't think it would. See, that's the thing. Like, Allison was like, well, we already did it. It's like, yeah, but they got words. They got words for this, and we got to let them have it. And so we're gonna revisit this because it's awesome. So in October of 2025, Olivia Henderson, also known on, I guess, TikTok as Livy Rose Henderson, the 23-year-old DoorDash delivery driver in Oswego, New York, went viral on TikTok after posting a video claiming she was sexually assaulted during a contactless food delivery on October 12th. She alleged that the customer had deliberately left his door open and was passed out on his couch with his pants down, exposing himself as she approached. Henderson recorded the scene from inside the home and shared the footage online, accusing the man of intentional exposure. The video sparked widespread debate about gig worker safety, with many initially supporting her, while DoorDash quickly deactivated her account, stating it was due to a privacy violation for filming and posting inside a customer's home without consent, not for reporting the incident. Following the investigation, Oswego police found that basically they have arrested her. Arrested and charged with 2 Class E felonies: second-degree unlawful surveillance and first-degree dissemination of an unlawful surveillance image. So they found no evidence of criminal intent or sexual assault on the part of the customer, who was intoxicated and unconscious inside of his own private residence. Okay? So these are under New York law, each carries potential penalties of up to 4 years in prison. Authorities cited her entering the home beyond what was necessary for a contactless drop-off. Literally, you just leave it at the door. I know, because people get DoorDash all the time around here, and that's what they do. To record and then publicly sharing the video. She was released with an appearance ticket and is scheduled to appear in Oswego City Court on December 4th, 2025. The customer faced no charges, but both parties were banned from DoorDash, like as clients. And so this has there are still people supporting her, thinking that she's the victim here. But this is what
Did
what
you
happens.
have to show us a close up? Good Lord, look at the state of that.
Yeah, I know. I figured this is a good face.
All right, so yeah, I was pretty fuming last time we talked about this. Not just because it's highly unprofessional conduct for a delivery person, but because it's yet another example of a woman somehow painting herself as the victim of her own predatory behavior, frankly. But anger does subside when justice is done, and I really wasn't expecting quite so much justice. I didn't even think she'd get like 1 misdemeanor, let alone 2 felonies. It almost seems a bit overboard, but whatever. I didn't know those were felonies. That's just my ignorance. I'm guessing she didn't either, but ignorance of the law is no defense against it. And to be fair, what she did was pretty fucked up, especially when you scan it for mens rea, which is a legal term meaning mind.
Guilty mind.
Guilty mind. And now that I've seen the footage of the incident, and alas, I have, it has cleared a few things up. Yes, the door was wide open, and you could see from the doorstep, albeit at an angle, a rather acute angle, that there was a person lying on a sofa. But he clearly wasn't moving or looking up from his reclined state. And at a glance, it wasn't at all apparent that what he was wearing or not wearing, unless you go out of your way to examine the scene. And that's what she did. She very much examined the scene. She called it sexual assault, and only a deluded feminist Darvo artist could possibly call that a sexual assault. The remaining question is, was it indecent exposure? And I'd give it a fairly confident no, and it seems like the law agrees. But did she even act like it was indecent exposure? How do people normally react when they become the victim of indecent exposure? I mean, you'd probably scream and run, right? Or at least you'd make some kind of startled noise and then walk away pretty fucking quickly. If she had made a startled noise, it probably would have woken him up. As you can see by the footage, if you have seen it, what she did was quietly take her phone out, film the scene for several seconds, even zoomed in on the centerpiece of the scene, and it was an optical zoom, And then she walked away down the driveway, still recording. She held the phone up to her face and nonchalantly said, "That's fucked up." She did the meme, folks. The one about how when men want to show you a picture of something, they show you the thing. But when women want to show you a picture of something, they show you the thing with her face in front of it. And that's what she posted on the internet. She couldn't help herself. It would still be a double felony with or without her face, but the self-insertion of her face gives a reasonably clear indication of her motive. She wanted to be famous. She wasn't filming evidence of a crime so she could show it to the police or even to DoorDash. She was filming an episode of the Livy Rose Henderson show so that she could display it to the whole world for clout, for entertainment points, and indeed for victim points. Those two kinds of points are one and the same in the fucked up mind of a feminist. Of course, ironically enough, the filming was itself the crime, and the insertion of her face only proved, bang to rights, that she was the criminal. She went ahead and shot herself in the face, figuratively and kind of literally. So, all in all, it's kind of hilarious. I can't stay mad at someone who does something as hilarious as that. She deserves applause. If anything, it's the greatest cell phone of the year. And she did it with a cell phone. It almost makes you wonder if that's why they're called cell phones. Don't you just love it when a plan comes together? A cell phone plan. I'm just milking it at this point.
There you go.
Yeah, rot in jail, you stupid bitch. You get what you fucking deserve, and so on.
Yeah, I only have one caveat to add to that in terms of agreeing with the description of what she did, because the video does not contain evidence that the door was open before she interacted with it. This is something that you have to understand. We don't know still that she walked up and found a door ajar enough for her to not be able to avoid seeing. Right? We don't know, in fact, that it was even ajar at all.
Actually,
We don't know that
we do actually know that she basically re-uploaded the video, editing out the part where she pushes the door open. And there's actually like a screenshot of that. I'm gonna.
So we
find
do
it
know
right
that
now.
it wasn't then.
She didn't edit out the part where she put her face in at the end of it. Fucking
yeah, but that's not what's important. I mean,
No.
that's the funny part.
yes.
But the important thing is this, all right? According to the law, if you have been told not to interact with someone's property, right? You've been told, drop the thing off on the porch and leave. Entering the property is trespassing. So anything she did after that is on her, not on him. So if she pushed the door open, which the video shows that she did, and there's no evidence that she could see in there prior to doing that she could have been exposed to anything prior to making it possible for herself to see in there. And her pushing that door open is a huge part of what makes this a crime. If that had been a female on the couch, even if she was completely buck naked, just bare ass, bare tits, everything, the fact that the guy entered her place without her permission would have gotten him arrested. Everybody would be arguing that it was his fault. Nobody would be arguing that he was a victim of sexual assault, much less any kind of harassment or any other inappropriate behavior. Nobody would be mistaking this for anything other than a crime of voyeurism, which is what she did. She committed voyeurism. And then she compounded it. And if her state has revenge porn laws, she's really in deep shit. She compounded it by publishing a nude image of a person against their will. Now, voyeurism has been illegal for generations. So it's not something like, you can't really blame voyeurism laws on feminists, right? But revenge porn laws, you can. Because they're the ones who advocated to get those laws passed. That if you are in possession, even of nudes that somebody gave you, and you put those on the internet against the will of the individual who gave them to you, that is a crime, and it's considered a felony, and you can go to jail for that. They knocked down several revenge porn sites, and I'm not saying there's any objection to that, but I did say when that passed that the first state that passed that, my response was, this is going to come back to bite feminists in the ass, and here is where it did. She's going to go probably to jail for both entering this individual's home after he told her not to. He explicitly told her not to. And then also, if their state has revenge porn laws, she's going to go to jail for that. So I don't feel bad for her. What she did was predatory. She exploited a passed out drunk naked man for clicks. And she publicly humiliated him for clicks. And no man would get away with doing that to any woman. And, rightfully so, nobody should have that done to them. But yeah, I've been arguing with somebody on X recently that keeps wanting to portray this as as the victim of this. This woman has psycho eyes. This wasn't fear. She wasn't afraid of this guy. She wasn't victimized by this guy. He didn't impose anything on her. This was a person who saw an opportunity to exploit a passed out, drunk, naked man for clicks on the internet, took it, and is now regretting her choices. And that's it. That's all that is. More power to the state in this instance, because they did the right thing. Yes, one time you'll hear me say more power to the state in any instance. Women need to know, being a woman doesn't mean that you can do this, and it doesn't make you a victim when you prey on someone else. This is the same preying sexually on someone for clicks, which is sexual pleasure in its own right for this chick. Like she's getting her ego fed by doing this. Isn't really any different than sexually preying on someone so you can masturbate to the photos. She's masturbating her ego instead of her genitals. Big whoop. It's the same thing. And she deserves exactly what she's getting.
All right. Sounds good to me. So yeah, again, this is good news.
Maybe we'll call back in like in a few months when we've got the results of her trial. And
yeah,
we'll
we can check back with that.
You mean because she was found not guilty on both charges?
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah, she's gonna be appearing in court in December 4th. So, we'll probably find something by that time, unless these things take time. There might be multiple hearings, but we'll definitely follow when we know more. So let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next story. So, on November 14th. And I found this out the other day and I thought it was crazy. An independent expert group chaired by Professor Anna Gasler, Scotland's women's health champion, published a report commissioned by the Scottish government recommending sweeping reforms to abortion laws. The key proposals include fully decriminalizing abortion for women, removing all criminal penalties for self-managed terminations, allowing abortion on request for up to 24 weeks without needing any specified grounds or approval from two doctors, and regulating the procedure purely as healthcare rather than under the 1967 Abortion Act. The group explicitly advised that any new legislation should not include a specific prohibition on sex-selective abortion, arguing there is no robust evidence of it occurring in Scotland, that such a ban would be unworkable, requiring intrusive questioning of all women or racial profiling of certain ethnic communities, and that it could deter access to care. The recommendation sparked immediate controversy, with politicians, pro-life groups, and some media outlets accusing the SNP-led government of paving the way to legalize sex-selective abortions, a practice currently unlawful under interpretations of existing UK law, as fetal sex is not a valid ground. Critics called it morally repugnant and dystopian, warning that it disproportionately affects female fetuses. So, sex-selective abortion exists. Female fetuses most affected. Or at least they're proposing sex-specific abortion. So if you find out you have a boy, you didn't want a boy, you can abort the boy, for example. The expert panel and supporters rejected these claims as misleading, emphasizing the focus on decriminalization and women's autonomy, not endorsement of sex selection. The Scottish government, via Minister Jenny Minto, stated it is only the first stage of review, will gather further evidence and stakeholder views, and has made no decisions on implementing any changes. Sex-selective abortion remains illegal under current law, and no bill has been proposed. So this is just like tabling an idea from the... let me just go back and get this person's name again. Professor Anna Glazer, Scotland's women's health champion. Apparently, she's like some kind of warrior. I don't know. Bring forth your champion of women's health. But yeah, she's the one proposing.
She won the women's health Olympics.
2 cunts enter, 1 cunt leaves. So anyway, so yeah, what are your there you go. There's your there's the writer.
There's been outrage from both sides, well, from many sides, but as you already heard, what the outrage sounds like from the feminist side. This is going to allow people to kill female babies. I mean, abort female babies. I mean, abort female, not babies yet. I mean, abort birth-giving, not babies yet. Not babies yet who were assigned female at birth. I mean, before birth. It's a wonder they can discuss this shit at all when every aspect of it is something they have to twist into this euphemistic spaghetti. And when they're quite finished with all that shit, you have to ask them, but who would do that? In what kind of culture would people make a habit of killing female babies, like specifically female babies? And that sends them into another tailspin of cognitive dissonance, because the only option in their playbook is to blame everything on white men, and white men don't do that. Men in general don't do that. Unless you count the doctors, but even they don't have the power to elect such elective procedures. They can't blame it on religious people either, because religious people generally aren't allowed to do it to any fetus. At the very least, they heavily frown upon it. They're thinking of China, aren't they? That's the stereotype they're thinking of. And it stops them in their tracks because they haven't done all that much thinking about it. There used to be a one-child policy in China, and at the time, daughters were not legally obliged to financially support their families like sons were. So, Chinese mothers got into the habit of drowning their baby daughters, and it was the mothers. But hey, when you remind people that men are raped more often than women are, when you include prison statistics, you're invariably told, yeah, but those men don't count as victims because they're raped by other men. Okay, okie dokie. Then females don't count as victims when they're killed by other females. Womp womp, no harm done, not my fucking problem, right? And to reiterate, every elective abortion in this country is ultimately and unilaterally elected for by women. The Scottish government report we're talking about has been conducted by largely women and chaired by a woman. So any females who fall afoul of it do not count as victims. Do I have that right? Is that accurate? In any case, it's all by the way. All of this is a formality because we appear to be pretending that it wasn't always perfectly possible for a woman to abort her baby because of its sex for as long as abortion has been legal. A woman can choose to abort her baby for any reason or for no reason. The vast majority of abortions fall into that category. Not rape, not incest, not the health of the mother, not the health of the child, but simply because she wants an abortion. She doesn't need a reason, and she doesn't have to give one. And she can get this abortion up to 24 weeks, was it? And the baby's sex can be determined at 16 weeks by ultrasound, as early as 6 weeks by blood test. So there is already nothing stopping a woman from finding out the sex of her baby and then aborting it because it's not the sex she wanted. She doesn't have to tell the doctor that that's why she wants it aborted. She can just say, because I say so, and that's enough. She can keep her secrets to herself. So we already know that this can happen. We have no idea how much it does happen. What do you suppose we can suppose about how often it happens to male babies? Bear in mind, this isn't China under the one-child policy. It's Scotland. After 100 years of demonic feminist death spiraling. Goodfellow, friend of the show, did a video about this story a couple of days ago. And he did a quick but extensive Twitter search for a certain key phrase that comes up quite a lot. Does anyone know the key phrase we're talking about?
Is that women saying, "Is it a girl or an abortion"?
A girl
'Cause
or
I've
an
seen that
abortion.
so many times.
Yeah, it's something pregnant women like to chant when they're about to get their clinical gender reveal. Am I
Yeah.
about to have a girl or an abortion? Now, maybe they're joking. Maybe most of them are joking. Maybe 100% of them are just joking. What do we suppose are the chances that 100% of them are just joking, given the aforementioned century of bloodthirsty feminist insanity? So don't give me this shit that this is going to cause people to kill female babies. All it's going to do is provide further justification for the male babies they're already killing. The only thing I'm sort of emergently worried about is whatever clause is indicated by this phrase. What was it? Removing all criminal penalties for self-managed terminations. Self-managed terminations. Does that mean what I think it means?
Probably not.
Unless I've got the wrong end of the stick here. That does seem to be a significant change to the law, not just by the spirit, but by the letter. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. But does that mean the coat hanger? Does
No,
that mean...
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong on that. There is an abortion pill. Don't ask me to pronounce the name of the drug. I haven't looked at the name of the drug in weeks, and it's not one that I regularly pronounce, but it starts with an M. It causes a miscarriage, and it is used usually during the first 2 weeks after sex when an individual thinks she might be pregnant. And there's also a procedure to cause early miscarriage beyond that. And they call it self-managed even if you go to a doctor and get the abortifacient and take it home and use it, and then have your miscarriage at home and dispose of the remains at home because it's too small to count as biological waste. It's not called a self-managed abortion if you have the procedure done in a medical facility or if you have to go to the hospital to manage the abortion. So it's probably not a coat hanger. However, that does bring up a salient point. People keep blaming men for this. The concept of abortion itself, the incidence of abortion, the fact that women, quote unquote, have to abort, which is a lie. In the modern Western world, women have access, and in the UK, women have access to like 16 or 15 different categories of birth control paid for by the national healthcare system. So they don't even have to pay their own birth control bill. Somebody else pays for their birth control. If a guy wants a condom, I don't know if he has access to that for free or not. But if a woman wants birth control pills, if she wants the shot, if she wants the implant, if she wants an IUD, which I always reference the fact that I like to get that confused with IED. Please don't do that if you're getting the implant. It's not healthy. But if she wants any of those things, anything that requires a medical procedure for her to use it and has a medical cost for her having access to it, it is provided to her free by the taxpayers. So it's not, women don't have the excuse that they can't afford to use birth control and they need to substitute abortion as a means. It's not a good excuse anyway, because abortion costs more. But I suppose under UK med systems, it's probably covered too. In the United States, it's not always, and so there's no excuse whatsoever for a woman to need an abortion unless she has been raped or she's in the rare circumstance where her baby cannot survive delivery before the pregnancy will kill her from complications. Right? Every other abortion outside of those two circumstances is elective. And it's arguable that abortion following a rape is also elective because you don't have to abort if you've been raped. That's a choice even in that circumstance. But it is a choice that you're making because somebody imposed it on you in that circumstance instead of you were pleasure seeking. And I will say this as well. Prior to the legalization of abortion for elective circumstances, you had sex, you didn't use sufficient birth control, and you didn't partner with somebody to make a baby and raise a family, that there were thousands of women who had abortions for health reasons, at least in the United States. And they extended health reasons not just to she's going to die if she tries to carry that baby to term, but she's going to have mental health problems like depression if she's going to carry that baby to term. There were 200 some thousand abortions in the United States the year before Roe versus Wade that were legal and done in medical facilities, medical settings. Women will also abort even if it's illegal. So women do not care about the law of the land when this issue comes up. Men cannot stop women from aborting by saying that it's not approved of under the law of our nation. We will stop you by making it illegal and prosecuting the doctor you go to and prosecuting the woman. Women will still go to an unsanitary environment in a back room in some woman's home and have this procedure done. So there is no instance where it is arguable that abortion is under the control of men. Most abortion doctors are women. Most of the majority of physicians who perform abortions especially at abortion clinics as opposed to in emergency rooms because it is an emergency, are women. And then in addition to those medical professionals, most of the staff are nurses or nurses' aides, medical techs, candy stripers, those are mostly women also, those different categories. And so the professional end of it, mostly women. Planned Parenthood is mostly run by women. The promotion of abortion in various nations has been done by women's organizations who have used government funding without the knowledge or consent of most taxpayers to do it. And then on top of that, it's been mostly women fighting against having this outlawed. So for the people that are blaming men for this, oh, this is a sign of how exploitative men are, that women want more expanded abortion. No. Women choose whether or not they consent. If they don't consent, it's a felony to not stop. Women choose whether or not they're going to use birth control. If you sabotage their birth control, in a lot of countries, that's rape. So you can't even argue that women aren't in control of that. Women in Scotland, in particular, should be getting care through the National Health System. They're able to use birth control without having to pay for it. And then on top of that, they can choose more than one type of birth control. So they can refuse to consent without a condom, use 2 types of birth control of their own, and then, no pregnancy. Like, it's your chances of getting pregnant are so infinitesimally small at that point as to be statistically zero. And yet, hundreds of thousands of abortions are done annually. Women have made abortion the leading cause of human death in the world, if you count it as a human death, which anybody who knows me knows that I do. A zygote counts as a living human organism under scientific rules for what counts as a living organism and what species it is. So it is a living human organism. When you have an abortion, you are causing a death. And it is not just slightly past the leading cause before that. The leading cause before that is cardiovascular and cardiopulmonary issues, heart-related issues. And if you put the two next to each other in a bar graph, the bar for abortions would be half again as high as the bar for cardiopulmonary and cardiovascular issues. So it's not even close. It's a huge cause of death. 3 in 10 pregnancies around the world are aborted. And people are wondering, what's the cause of low birth rates? Well, 3 in 10 pregnancies around the world are aborted. And before people are like, oh, you're misogynistic, you hate women, blah, blah, blah. Name one instance where men have a legally protected right with legal impunity to use deadly force against an innocent third party to avoid the natural consequences of their own pleasure seeking, and then blame their co-pleasure seeker as a socially acceptable means of not taking accountability for it. Oh, wait. Load something into the comments. Say one thing in the comments that you think involves society going, yeah, men can seek this type of pleasure, and then go out and kill someone to avoid the consequences, the naturally occurring consequences of that pleasure seeking, and then blame the person they were pleasure seeking with instead of themselves for their perpetration of that violence. Because I don't think anybody can. So this is a woman perpetrated, female worker-led industry that serves female consumers at the behest of women's advocates doing women's bidding by women's exclusive choice. No man can be blamed for this. Not one.
And yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there is a loophole in this proposed set of laws that does include the coat hanger or any pair of tweezers that you can get hold of. If she finds out it's a boy, she's perfectly within her rights to hook it by its barely formed testicles and yank it straight out into the kitchen sink, and then eat it or something. Is that what's coming next? Women can just eat their babies alive like starving rats. Did I just do that thing where I tell the darkest joke I can think of and then it comes true 6 months later? I do that all the time. I fucking hate myself for it. So I'm going to stop talking for the good of humanity.
All right, well, guys, let us know what you guys think about this one. I mean, again, it's still in the proposal stage, but could you imagine if they? Well, I don't want to think about it because then, yeah, like Mike said, I might manifest it into being. So just let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I got a super chat from Meredith G, and she just simply says $5 for $5. HBR News 527 honey for the Badgers. Thank you, Meredith. Really appreciate it. And all right, we're gonna move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. So in September, so this is not like new, but I'm learning about it now. 42-year-old, this is the beer that in mind. 42-year-old San Mateo resident Lisa Catalano, a vintage clothing seller and content creator who lost her fiance to a terminal illness in 2023, launched an unconventional search for a husband by renting a dozen digital billboards along Highway 101 in the San Francisco Bay Area, from Santa Clara to South San Francisco, displaying her photo and the URL MaryLisa.com. Frustrated with dating apps, she created a detailed application form on the site seeking college-educated, drug-free, left-leaning men aged 30 to 50, ready for marriage and children within a few years. The campaign quickly went viral, attracting over 3,800 applications in weeks from the US and abroad, national media coverage, supportive messages, and even a forthcoming docuseries on local station KRON4. While Catalano has begun dating applicants, reporting several promising first and second dates, and expressed no regrets, the attention also brought some criticisms, such as, and this is according to the article, misogynistic insults, accusations of desperation. I mean, I don't know if that's an accusation. And abusive messages she compiles in a separate binder. Oh, she's a victim of this now. A Fox News segment notably labeled her efforts negatively, contributing to what she called next-level hate mail. Despite the vitriol, she emphasized safety protocols, views the supportive responses as a bright spot, and maintains the bold approach was worth it for potentially finding a lifelong partnership.
Woman gets treated like a man. Misogyny!
I suppose it's better than doing OnlyFans. At the end of the day, it's just another way of getting thousands of simps to line up to give you a free dinner. But hey, it doesn't count as prostitution because you're not even giving them a glimpse of what they're never going to get. 3,800 men, eh? I'm not sure what it is she finds so frustrating about dating apps. That's a normal day on Tinder for a normal woman. Your cup will still runneth over with men who you still have to vet for all the criteria you've outlined and all the criteria you did not. If you're
she said liberal men, so it's her cup runneth over.
Very good. And yeah, if you're in the San Francisco area, then left-leaning is kind of redundant. Drug-free, though, yeah, I guess that does narrow it down. It's fucking San Francisco. Even the Starbucks is laced with fentanyl and human shit. And yeah, college educated doesn't mean college educated, does it? It doesn't include the millions of men who completed their college education and have been flipping fast food burgers ever since. It means rich. It means raking in at least 6 figures a year, preferably 7. And I do mean that, because she's probably going to want a man who's at least as rich as she is. And Jesus, tap dancing, juggling on a unicycle, Christ. Just how loaded do you have to be to afford a dozen digital billboards on a highway in San Francisco? There are Fortune 500 companies who can't afford that kind of swag. Like, no wonder she got 3,800 potential suitors. Most of those will be like temp worker bums who thought they'd shoot their shot with a filthy rich MILF. I mean, it's San Francisco. 3,700 of them are probably Indians who work in IT. Beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. Most of them are calling from Calcutta and telling her, "Do not redeem." I mean, God bless her for trying. I'm not throwing her any shade. Like, well done for doing what you can. I just don't know what the fuck she's doing, or what she's supposed to do with that many candidates. I assume she has like an office of paid administrators spreadsheeting all of these men to try and weed out the overwhelming saturation of pathetic, insufferable, left-leaning, college-educated men. It's kind of a curious inversion of what a pimp is, what a madam is, I guess. It's a network of black market pen pushers all trying to get one woman laid. It's fascinating, actually. Let me know how it goes. Let someone at Netflix know how it goes. There's at least 3 seasons of shenanigans in this, for sure. As long as you turn out to be a troon, of course, because it's Netflix. And then if your husband turns up alive and he's a troon as well. He only faked his death so he could go off and live the troon life. But then he finds out you're a troon too, so he falls in love with you all over again. But you don't want him back because you want to conquer a battalion of cisgendered underage boys, like so many troons do. So much potential for arcs and whatnot. I'll write it myself if I have to. All right. I think I'm already doing it. All right. I'm going to work on it. Call me. But not for sex. I don't do troons.
There we go. My initial statement is pretty much my main take on this. I don't know what she's complaining about. I mean, if she was a man, that's exactly what would have happened. Except that he wouldn't have had the excuse, "You're being misogynist for criticizing this." Men who put their profiles on Tinder often get, "Oh, nobody's going to date that guy. Look at that guy. That's a terrible picture. What the heck? He's under 6 feet tall. No, nobody's going to date that guy. I'm not interested." That kind of thing. And on top of that, the idea of actually approaching a woman is discouraged. There are even dating sites that women will flock to where, the men can put their profiles up and everything, but they can't be the first one to message. She has to be the first one to message. So, it's women treat it like, the dude being the first one to message makes him creepy. And men get treated like creeps for approaching women in social settings where people usually go to find someone they might want to date. Men get deemed creepy, weird, or otherwise illegitimately bad. Any kind of nasty negative characteristic for preferring that a woman be college educated, preferring that a woman be healthy, and not a land whale if they want to date her, preferring that she has some of the same kind of interests as he does. Like if a guy regularly likes to work out and he wants to get together with a woman who also is into exercise, instantly he's fat shaming, and how dare he not be interested. Further, if he requires that she be a biological female, he can get shamed for that as well. So I don't see why this is even a news article. Like, this woman didn't get anything messaged to her that is any worse than would be sent to a man who did this. And in fact, people might accuse him of being a sexual predator looking for victims. And in fact, a man who did this might even be investigated by police after getting reported as a sexual predator looking for victims because of the misogyny narrative, because of the bear narrative, because of the XYZ percent of this particular or that particular so-called gender-based violence is male perpetrated, despite the fact that you're talking about less than 0.1% of the population's perpetration, as if the gender balance of that perpetration relates on or reflects on either sex. So yeah, it's really, this is a nothing burger. This was, some woman looking for attention. She got attention. She didn't get universally positive attention, and now she's mad and making a big deal about it. And because she is a woman, the media is listening.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate about her late husband. But I do think this was like she still she doesn't have kids, so she seemed to have waited too long to start thinking about it, and that's why she's putting this out there. It's kind of like, I'm almost out of time. I have to have kids now. I'm gonna put out an ad. And I mean, it's, like I said, it's a shame about your husband and everything, but this is a cautionary for people. Like if you're a younger woman, and you happen to see this, all I'm asking is that you think about this and take it seriously, because you don't want to be 40 looking for, someone. If you want children, you have to think about that early. So and that's the thing too, is that she's trying to, like, find a guy really fast, get married right away, and start a family. I'm surprised that many men were like willing to do that, because I feel like that's really, I don't think that's a thing you rush into, and she's ready to rush into it. So this could be a mistake, but yeah, I mean, there's also it is definitely an attention grabbing thing, and it probably helped her reach more men, because there's a lot of thirsty simps out there. But yeah, I don't know. This is just, all I'm saying is, like, if you're young and you're fertile, don't waste your time. If this is what you want, if you want this, get on it right away, or at least start thinking about it and taking it seriously. And don't do this thing where it's like, well, I have so many things I want to do, and then you're like 40 and you're, you finally find somebody and then he dies, and now you're like scrambling. So I don't know, but let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the next story. So, all right. So, mankeeping is now in the mainstream, and it's being covered by Vice. Now, I talked about this on this channel a while back. I think I did a thing with Allison. I may have done a thing with you guys, but I definitely had on this guy named James Nuzzo, who does a lot of research into UN women and various academic research into, sort of like where feminists get their funding from, all the ways that they are publicly funded by NGOs, by independents, etc. And the way that they operate, a lot of times it revolves around like a new form of misandry, basically, a new kind of terminology that they get pushed into the mainstream. And he was like right on the edge of when mankeeping was a thing. Now, mankeeping is just a new name for an old idea. It's emotional labor, but they're rebranding it because I think, it's this what they do. This is what it's all about. So Vice, they're a part of that whole network, and they have an article on it. The Vice article called "Mankeeping is Why Women Are Done with Dating." So it's not the men that are walking away, guys. It's the women. This is a quote, by the way. Defines mankeeping as the extensive, often invisible emotional labor that women in heterosexual relationships perform for their male partners. Also pointing out that they only direct this at heterosexual relationships. They don't say this about other kinds because that's not what's under attack. Okay, it's only the heterosexual stuff. That's why they have a term called heterofatalism, because that's what they're trying to do. They are trying to destroy normal sexuality. This includes managing a man's stress and moods, acting as his primary or only emotional support system, interpreting his needs, and serving as an unpaid therapist with benefits, all while receiving little reciprocation. The piece frames this as an evolution of traditional emotional labor exacerbated by the male loneliness epidemic, where men reportedly have fewer close friendships than women and thus dump their emotional processing onto romantic partners, according to these assumptions, turning relationships into one-sided burden on women. Drawing on research from Stanford and Pew, the author argues that this dynamic is the key reason many millennial and Gen Z women are opting out of dating altogether. Only 38% of single American women are actively seeking relationships versus 61% of single men, preferring the peace of being alone over constantly keeping an adult man emotionally afloat. The article portrays women's choice to stay single not as defeat, but as a rational boundary, concluding that until men build better support networks and relationships become more mutually supportive, more women will walk away, because solitude is far easier than managing someone else's inner life without help. The tone is empathetic towards women's exhaustion and unapologetically supportive of prioritizing personal peace with women.
I have to jump in on this one. This pisses me off. 100 years ago, if a man wanted to make friends with other dudes, there were dozens of different clubs and organizations just for men where they could go and associate with people based on common interests, whether it was an interest in sports, an interest in a particular job or hobby, whether they were men with high income who were philanthropic and trying to relate with other men who were also high income and philanthropic. There were organizations just for that. Guys who wanted to be involved in civics, guys who wanted to be involved in business in general. All of these organizations could be male only. They could bar women, and they could allow men a female-free environment in which to hang out, relate to each other, organize their thoughts, organize socially, and just do their thing. Be dudes. Without women, without female supervision, without getting told they're doing it wrong, without being called misogynist for any complaints they might have about their wives, without being called a misogynist for any ideas they might have about dating, nothing, right? And then on top of that, you also had bars that were called stag bars. And a stag bar for the younger generation was also male only. Women could not go in. They were not legally barred, but the bar owner could say no women, and under the law, that was his right. He could say no women in this bar. You can't come in here, go home, or go to another bar. And it wasn't really all that common for women to go to bars by themselves anyway. But in a stag bar, you had the same situation that was, men hanging out with men, just shooting the shit. They didn't have to have a particular subject why they were hanging out. They could just hang out and have something to drink, have a meal, and then go home. And women didn't have the modern practice down of keeping a man from having a social life and then complaining because he doesn't have a social life. I talk to other married women, and everybody, loves their husbands, and they talk about how great their marriage is and how happy they are with their man. And a lot of times these women will talk about, he doesn't go out with the boys, he stays at home, and that's something that they're happy about. That would drive me nuts. I want my husband to be able to do whatever the fuck he wants. I don't want to have responsibility for his social life. And I think that feminist pushes to stop women or men from having the ability to go out and do things without a woman's permission are detrimental to both sexes' mental health. But it's not men's fault that women did that. It's women's fault. It's not men's fault that women sued for access to male spaces. It's not men's fault that women sued to prevent male spaces from being created. Women are even trying to invade men's therapeutic male-only spaces, men's sheds, where men engage in therapy by working side by side on a project together while they're discussing their issues, because it is easier for men to hash things out with each other about a particular subject if they're engaging in some sort of collaborative effort on something that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it. Two men building a bookshelf will have an easier time talking about why one of them is having difficulty getting over the death of his father, getting his grief to that stage where, it still hurts, but you can function. And or handling his emotional responses to the abuse he's suffering in his divorce. They'll have an easier time talking about that while doing something than just sitting around chit-chatting the way women do. It's a different behavior that is different between the sexes, and there's nothing wrong with men having their different way of doing it. So this complaint that women have all this emotional labor over men not having any friends, this idea that men don't have any friends, right? If it were true that men did not have deep friendships, long-standing friendships, frequent friendships like women do, it would be women's fault. But the other end of it is it's not. Men and women do friendship differently too. And I've seen this with male friends and female friends. A woman she'll call, 10 different gals her close friends. But if you judge the closeness based on how she trusts those friends and how she interacts with those friends, she has one or two, maybe three. And the other 7, 8, or 9 of them are people that you can't tell anything to without having it plastered all over social media or being judged for it instead of given advice. And you have, people that will literally sabotage each other and still claim to have a friendship. And it's not just competitive, friendly competition. It's cutthroat, angry, hateful, lashing out behind each other's back with claws and teeth. And then the moment somebody turns around, just like cats, all of a sudden it's all, cute and cuddly and looking innocent, except that there's no innocence there at all. Right? They've just torn each other to shreds, and you didn't notice. Men seem to be more upfront about that. So if if two men are not friends, if they're not in a real friendship, you know it, and they can do rivalry without being mean to each other about it if they are friends, and maintain that friendship. And even men who are cutthroat with each other can maintain mutual respect that women have forgotten how to do. So you have a very different situation between men and women in how they treat each other as friends, and how they treat the same sex as friends. You also have a situation wherein if a woman has a male friend who is just a friend, her guy is not allowed to complain, criticize, suggest that there's something else going on, and she needs to keep a distance and not hang out alone with that guy and that kind of thing. And if anybody says any differently, they're a misogynist and they're slut shaming and they're all that. But if a guy is hanging out alone with another woman for more than 5 minutes, something's wrong, right? He's accused of something. He's accused of something going on. A guy often in relationships can't even say hi to a classmate and talk about when the next class reunion is coming up without his wife or girlfriend going, "How do you know her? How close are you guys? What have you talked about? Why are you going there because she's going to be there?" It's completely different between the sexes and how people react. And as a result of this, men are very limited in who they can associate with, but at the same time, men will form deep, trusting, supportive, and very closely understood between the friendships with other men, where maybe they haven't hung out in a week or a month or even a year, but if they call the other guy up, the conversation starts back up like it never ended. If they call the other guy in for a favor, he's right there. And if one of them is with somebody who is doing something that she shouldn't be to him, the other guy will be there for him when he falls without going, "I told you so. You should have known better." Well, that woman, she saw an easy mark. You're gonna have to make up for that in our friendships. You threw me over for a bitch. Like, they just help the guy pick up the pieces and move on. And whereas women will step on another woman in a situation like that, tear her down further before helping her, because it gives them power. So I don't want to hear any bullshit about women being frustrated with this situation, because first of all, you created it, and second of all, you're lying about the dynamics of it. So until you can be honest about those two things, don't come bitching to me. Learn to live with men who are men, and learn to let them be themselves and let them be together without bitching about it, and then get back to me.
Yeah, this shit just bores the crap out of me at this point. It's the same bollocks repackaged over and over. Mankeeping is just a rebranding of emotional labor, of male fragility, of toxic masculinity, of patriarchy, of the problem that cannot be named, as it was called in the 50s, even though they find a new name for it every couple of fucking years. Men are damned if they do, and damned if they don't, and damned if they neither do nor don't do, or anything in between. Men spend more time at work and they're nagged for being absent. Men spend more time at home and they're nagged for being deadbeats. Men throw themselves into their hobbies and they're nagged for being boring. Men abandon their hobbies and they're nagged for being boring. Men are nagged for doing anything other than devoting themselves to the women in their lives. So men devote themselves to the women in their lives, and then those women resent them for being needy. Men invent machines and build those machines and pay for those machines and maintain those machines so that women can have more free time to spend with their friends. But if he goes to the pub with his friends maybe once a month, he gets a fucking earful of nagging when he comes home an hour later than he's supposed to. It's just, men do everything they can to make women's lives easier, and women respond by doing everything they can to make men's lives more difficult. What it looks like is an abusive relationship. And it is, but what it really resembles is the relationship between parents and their teenage children. At that age, children are never satisfied with what their parents do. All they can be is annoyed and ungrateful. Most teenagers, I mean. Everything is either too much or not enough. Parents can never find themselves in the Goldilocks zone. They're always pushed away from it like magnets. But, this is to be expected from teenagers. It seems to be a natural phase. Evolution pushes us into it, presumably to prepare us for adult independence. You just have to stick it out until it's over, and when it's over, you can finally appreciate each other as fully formed adults. But it is not a natural dynamic when it comes to men and women. They're already supposed to be fully formed adults who have already got over this phase. But for whatever reason, a perturbing amount of women can never stop acting like spoiled teenagers, perpetually resenting the men in their lives for any protracted, irrational reason. Even though those women have complete social and legal power over those men, they have all the rights that parents have, despite having all the lack of responsibilities that teenagers have. And to be honest, I'm understating it, if anything. There are many women who never even make it as far as the emotional maturity of a teenager. They never progress beyond toddler mentality. I mean, they can learn how to use language to a college-educated level. They can learn how to obfuscate and redefine and euphemize and gaslight, but they never get beyond the fundamental dynamic of, I get what I want, and you just have to give it to me. The end. What's mine is mine. What's yours is, well, not even ours. It's mine. Me, mine, I want, and so on. Everything they learn about squirrely language is in service to this selfish hypocrisy, this never-ending game of peekaboo. To anyone with a fucking brain in the noggin, it's obvious why this is happening, because this is what women are being taught. From the cradle to the grave, they are taught that men have everything and women have nothing, and so men owe women everything. And we're finally getting to the point where men are getting really fucking sick of it. But they are powerless to change it, because men don't get to teach women or girls, not as teachers and not as parents. The few men who do are compelled to teach them nothing but the feminist narrative, that men have everything and women have nothing, and so men owe women everything. If they don't teach them that and only that, then they don't get to be teachers or parents. They'll get bum rushed out of the place on the grounds of misogyny. Can everyone please hurry up and finish arguing about immigration and the economy and the goddamn Epstein files? Remember the shit we were talking about 10 years ago? Yeah? Still happening. Still worse than ever. We could send all the foreign freeloaders home. We could reverse inflation and increase the GDP. We could arrest everyone who was ever on that island, and it would not make a goddamn dent on the near vertical decline of the West, and indeed the global situation in general. We got here because of this, because our world has been split down the middle, not between left and right, but between men and women. The whole left-right paradigm is just a projection, a two-dimensional projection of the three-dimensional problem that set the whole apocalypse in motion. The problem between men and women. Yes, I know no one's listening. I know no one cares. I know the left and the right are going to keep arguing about hokey shite, while they both agree that women need to be protected at all costs and that men need to be punched in the face. But I'm going to keep saying this shit until I'm dead and buried in a rolled up newspaper by the side of the road and slowly eaten by blue bottles. I don't care. This is what's going wrong. This is the lesson we're supposed to be learning. So, on the off chance that this is all a simulation, that in reality we're all living in a Dyson sphere in deep space and we're playing an elaborate educational video game, I'm playing to win on principle. I'm maxing out this stat, and that is what I will tell my maker when I die. I played the misogyny meta. I played the maybe we can blame women for some things some of the time meta. No matter how much you have nerfed us, oh Lord. If hell awaits, so be it. Bottom text.
All right.
Hashtag bring back stag bars.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's well said. I think you guys get it. So, okay, I got a super chow. Let's take a look at that. Zeranx gave us $10. Thank you, Zeranx, and says on the subject of man keeping, the following article is 2 years old. Better Bachelor has covered the author more than once. The pool of men these women draw from is ridiculously small, and it's their own doing. The husband store joke is something few women appear to stop, and you'd think they benefit from it if they could. The article is by Jana Hawking, archived, of course, and she realizes that she and other women she knows are sharing men. They're called Spit Sisters. Ew. And he
Ew.
includes a link. I'll go ahead and look at it really quick.
I couldn't find a nicer way to say that, huh?
I just read it. I probably should have. I feel bad, but okay. Super Chow. Let's click on it. Archive.is. What? Reason Sydney, Australia's dating scene is one sordid hot mess right now. This is kind of familiar actually. Last week I went out to drinks with a few. Yeah, so
that in an after show.
I feel like I've seen this before. And yeah, the man keeping thing, like I said, it's not new. It's been covered. It's just been rebranded. It's always like, you know, and I don't know, for whatever reason, like I don't know if it's the media or what, but like a lot of people just eat this stuff up. They just are so comfortable blaming men for whatever. I mean, because this is the thing about man keeping is, or at least what they're calling emotional labor, is like the opposite of toxic masculinity. It's literally what they want supposedly men to do. It's like what they're asking. And when men say, okay, then I will share my feelings and concerns and my anxieties and my problems, then they're like, oh no, that's no, we actually don't want that. And let's just like, I mean, like, let's just be honest about what it is then. If women don't want that, then just say you don't want that. But stop telling men that you do want that, and let men form their own spaces, because that's what men need. They need, like Hannah said, stag bars. They need some places, and women have basically taken all of those away, like even the workplace. So this is like what we get. And I think that more, I guess, on the plus side, the more I look around online, the more I'm seeing that a lot of people are discussing these things, and they're not, you know, like manosphere people. They're not MRAs, they're not red pillars or anything like that. But that just shows you that the problem is getting, you know, to the point where people are all being forced to see it, and they're going to reckon with it in some way. So,
you know what's funny about that article? Women will bitch, right? They'll bitch and moan that a guy cares about their body count because he cares about their sexual hygiene. He doesn't want to get herpes or HPV and get cancer, or AIDS and have to take pills for the
Yeah,
rest of his
sure.
life, you know. But then they bitch about it if the top 5% or 10% of guys that they're all going for are dating the other women that are also going for them. Like, again, it's women bitching that guys do what women think they should be able to get away with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, not a new thing. I just think that they're, like just trying to look for new ways to rebrand it, and I don't think there's any goal. Like they don't really want a solution. They want to make normal women more and more repulsed by normal men. They're intentionally driving men and women apart, and it's been that way for forever. It's from the beginning. That's what it was about. So every time they come up with a new term, and the thing is, most men, I mean, I think most men don't really take it seriously, or they don't really react to it. They don't really take it to heart that much, but women do. And that's all you have to do is get half the population on board, and they do. And so it is having an effect. I mean, women are basically, like, I think they're radicalized, like politically radicalized. And it is because they are put in a perpetual state of insecurity and fear and of men. So like this is what they're going to do. I think that we have, like, not we, but like our I guess the cathedral, they have done this to women, and women don't know that things are that their lives are not like in as much danger as they think they are, but they're reacting as though it's true. So it's a problem. And the man keeping thing is just, it's always these little things, right? And you just look at like women on TikTok or social media talking about what they want from man, or just like shitting on men because they voted the wrong way, or whatever it is, just being men. They're looking at the data of women going far, far, far left, and they're saying, well, it's the men's fault. That like when women overreact and they burn shit down and they destroy, things, they blame men for it. Like, you made me do this, and that's kind of like where we are right now. That's the kind of dynamic in the sort of meta sense that's happening. So
We
what's the
need to
solution
start
to that? I
spelling
don't
it
know. But men are
ovary.
going to react, and it's not going to be pleasant
We need to
when it
start
happens.
spelling it
But you know what?
overreacting.
I'm ready for it. So what?
Yeah. We need to start spelling it ovary acting
Yeah.
instead of overreacting,
Yeah.
because it is something that is unique to women.
For sure.
The way that women overreact is completely unique to women.
Yep. All right. So anyway, that was that article. Let me know what you guys think about man keeping in the comments. I know that we've talked about it briefly. I just noticed that more people are talking about it, that are just sort of like finding it for the first time. And I thought it was worth bringing up that it's going into like the sort of like the let's say the broader zeitgeist. So and yeah, it was basically a slow news week, so that's all I have for you guys today. So we're gonna go into the patron show now. We're gonna look at this article. I mean, this is a sausage of the correct size, anyway. Which is from the Washington Post, and it's entitled "Labor Department Social Media Campaign Depicts a White Male Workforce." Oh no! So let's find out what the problem is with this. I mean, like, ultimately, it's a male American male workforce is the focus, because that's what we want to focus on. So I think that's what they're doing. But we'll find out in the patron show. So if you guys want to join us for that, go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe and become a member. Join us in the patron show chat or in the Discord whatever, badgernation.online. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. And I want to thank Mike and Hannah for joining me on the show. But I want to thank you guys most of all for tuning in, because without you, we wouldn't be able to do this thing that we do, which is, I think, it's unique, because not a lot of people are having these conversations, at least not as early as we are often having them. And they're not willing to say the things that we're willing to say. So anyway, with that said, thanks guys for coming on the show today. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.